All right, guys, what are the billionaires up to? That's the question. What are the billionaires up to? And the answer is nothing good. The Daily Beast has an article here, Why Mark Zuckerberg's Neighbors Not So Secretly Hate Him. And they go in to describe this dude is building a fucking compound in Palo Alto, California, like an underground bunker, like this billionaire doomsday cult bunker. And he bought 11 properties. He spent 110 million DZACs doing it. And now all of his neighbors are fucking furious about it because they didn't sign up for this. They didn't sign up for there to be construction day in and day out for years on end. They didn't sign up for this motherfucker having things that are totally not approved by the zoning laws, like he's got a fucking school or something in the midst of his weird compound. So let me walk you through this. They say, members of Mark Zuckerberg's local community in California say the Meta CEO's decision to move in has completely upended life in their otherwise peaceful and leafy district. No neighborhood wants to be occupied, Michael Kieschnick, who lives in a home in Crescent Park, a neighborhood in Palo Alto that's surrounded on three sides by properties owned by the tech tycoon, told the New York Times Sunday. So this guy says, you don't get it. Mark Zuckerberg is literally occupying us. He bought this compound, 11 properties, and he's occupying the neighborhood. Quote, but that's exactly what they've done. They've occupied our neighborhood. Zuckerberg, along with his wife Priscilla Chan and their 3 daughters, moved to the community more than 14 years ago. In the time since, the family has spent more than $110 million buying at least 11 houses spread across just 2 streets, offering prior owners up to triple the value of their homes to move out. The Zuckerbergs have apparently now turned 5 of those buildings into a single compound, complete with a main house, guest houses, luxurious gardens, a pickleball court, and a large swimming pool, along with a now notorious 7-foot statue of Chan herself. What? So he builds this property, turns it into a compound, and puts a big statue of his wife up? Another building is apparently being used by the family as a private school for more than a dozen children, even though the New York Times reports that this is against Palo Alto city codes. He's been finding loopholes around our local laws and zoning ordinances, Greer Stone, a local council member, said. We should never be a gated, gilded city on a hill where people don't know their neighbors. Beneath the complex, Zuckerberg has apparently also drilled down to create cavernous areas referred to in building permits as basements and better known among his neighbors as bunkers or the billionaire's bat cave. So that's the thing, right? He's really building this massive doomsday bunker underneath these 11 properties. He's trying to build like a little underground town. That's what he's doing. And none of this was approved. None of this was zoned for it. This is all like, he's doing this all in contravention of what the laws are and pissing off every neighbor around him. Construction is understood to have spanned more than 8 years, with neighbors complaining their streets have been almost constantly filled with building equipment and loud noises. Others have taken issue with the fact that Zuckerberg's homes are apparently rigged with extensive surveillance equipment, including cameras that allegedly overlook other houses in the neighborhood. Quote, billionaires everywhere are used to just making their own rules. Zuckerberg and Chan are not unique, except that they're our neighbors. Kieschnick told the paper, but it's a mystery why the city has been so feckless. Gee, I wonder. He probably bought the fucking city and gave them a bunch of money. The Zuckerberg family has been willing to make some concessions after their fellow community members have complained in the past. Their security guards are understood to drive electric cars rather than louder gas-fueled vehicles. On one occasion, when the racket from the Zuckerberg property got too loud, the billionaire and his wife reportedly sent gift baskets out that included bottles of sparkling wine, Krispy Kreme donuts, and noise-canceling headphones. The Daily Beast has contacted Zuckerberg and Chan's representatives for comment. So he bought 11 properties, spent $110 million to create a billionaire compound and underground doomsday bunker. And at the same time, the government just kicked 17 million people off their Medicaid and 3 million people off their food stamps. They also cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels. At the same time, you're struggling to pay the bills. Hard to keep those lights on, hard to keep food on the table, hard to take care of your kid, hard to go back to school shopping. At the same time that's going on, this motherfucker bought 11 properties for $110 million, built an underground doomsday compound bunker, and is building his own illegal city in the middle of Palo Alto. That's what's happening. Next time anybody tries to blame anybody else other than the billionaires, laugh in their fucking face. Laugh in their face. Because they're not like us. They're different. They're not like us. They rig their way to the top. They scam their way to the top. They have more money and power than they know what to do with, right? And this is the result. This is the result. This country needs to wake up to the fact that this is where you need to put the blame. This is where you need to put the blame, is right on these people. Because a society where we have millions of people who have no health insurance, hundreds of thousands of homeless people, medical bills being the number one cause of bankruptcy, to have that same society be the society where one asshole can build his own underground doomsday compound, something's off there. And what's off there is the Gilded Age level of income and wealth inequality that we have. What's off there is that the bottom 80% of Americans only hold 7% of the wealth, so that Mark Zuckerberg can hold fucking all of it, along with the Nazi Elon Musk, who also cut pediatric cancer research, by the way. He's the one that's responsible for that. He's the one that's responsible for cutting Meals on Wheels. He's the one that's responsible for destroying air traffic controllers. This is what people need to realize, man, is that we've seen the studies, right? There was a RAND study. The top 1% stole $50 trillion from the bottom 90% since 1974. That means that every single working American should have an extra $1,144 per month every month for the rest of their lives. If we just kept the income and wealth inequality the same as the 1970s, that's where we would be. That means in real terms, you are more poor today than somebody in the 1970s was. That's what that means. And again, the billionaire's building a fucking mega mansion mini town with 11 properties worth $110 million as you can't pay the bills. This is what happens when the top 1% hold $43 trillion. $43 trillion. And by the way, the bottom 50% only has 2.6% of the wealth. So 3 billionaires, 3 of them, own more than the bottom 50% combined. Unless you think, oh, they just work harder than everybody else, so they deserve it. Wrong. 60% of billionaires came from extreme privilege to begin with. 60%. So the system's broken. The system's broken. And so as a direct result of that, you have the richest 400 Americans have an effective tax rate of 23%, while the bottom 50% have an effective tax rate of 24.2%. So that means the bottom 50%, the working class, pay a higher effective tax rate than the richest 400 Americans. Does that seem fair to you? Does that seem fair to you? Does it seem fair that you could barely put food on the table, but Mark Zuckerberg bought 11 properties worth $110 million, then built a massive underground doomsday bunker compound? Does that seem fair? Time to wake up, y'all. It's the billionaires. They're the problem. It's the corporations. It's the corruption. They've bought the government. They've rigged the government. The problem is not trans people. The problem is not immigrants. The problem is not any of the scapegoats that the Republicans point out. They're wrong. And the reason they're pointing at those people is because they're in on it with the billionaires. They're working for the billionaires, and that's why we are where we are. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.